You know, most people after 70 die from a few quiet causes with no warning. That's the part no one tells you. It's not always pain or dramatic symptoms that take people away in their 70s and 80s. It's the slow, quiet damage. It's the missed signals. It's the things we've ignored for years because they seem small. According to a study conducted in Chicago, most of these deaths are linked to just a few slow-moving, silent conditions that often show no clear warning signs. This video isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to prepare you. Because understanding what actually causes death after 70 isn't about fear, it's about awareness. And awareness leads to action. If you can name the real threats, you can respond to them. You can make small adjustments in how you live, how you monitor your health, and how you care for the body that's carried you this far. In this video, we're going to go through 6 causes that account for nearly all deaths after age 70. We'll talk about what makes them dangerous, why they go unnoticed, and how you can begin recognizing and addressing them now before they ever become a crisis. These aren't distant problems. They're common. And the more you know, the more power you have. Stay with us until the end, because the 6th one might surprise you. It's not a disease, but it's something that sends more seniors to the hospital than most people realize, and often begins a decline that's hard to reverse. Let's get into it. Number 1, silent progression of cardiovascular disease. One of the most common causes of death after 70 doesn't announce itself loudly. It doesn't come with sirens or warning bells. It comes quietly through the slow buildup of plaque in the arteries, the stiffening of blood vessels, and the silent pressure that's been rising year after year. This is cardiovascular disease, and it accounts for a staggering portion of deaths among seniors, not because it's rare, but because it hides in plain sight. The heart doesn't always give a warning before it fails. Sometimes the first symptom of heart disease is sudden cardiac arrest. Other times it's a stroke that arrives without pain, but leaves behind irreversible damage. And while the signs may be subtle, shortness of breath while climbing stairs, fatigue that lingers, swelling in the ankles, many people chalk them up to just getting older, never realizing they're signs of the body struggling to keep blood flowing where it needs to go. I knew a man named Harold, 76, who was active, sharp, and seemingly healthy. He walked every morning and ate what he thought was a decent diet. But one night after dinner, he simply slumped over in his chair. By the time the ambulance arrived, it was too late. What no one knew was that Harold had been living with high blood pressure for decades. He'd stopped checking it. He felt fine until the day he didn't. That's how cardiovascular disease works. It doesn't ask if you're ready. It moves silently, gradually, until one day it isn't quiet anymore. But the good news is, it's also one of the most preventable. Regular screenings, managing blood pressure and cholesterol, staying active in ways that don't stress your joints, and being mindful of salt and sugar intake, these aren't just recommendations. They're lifelines. The older you get, the more important it is to take fatigue seriously. That flutter in your chest, that pressure in your jaw or shoulder, the breathlessness you feel when you used to climb stairs with ease. They may not be dramatic, but they're not meaningless either. They're your body whispering before it screams. Avoiding this silent killer doesn't require perfection. It requires awareness. It requires paying attention when your body speaks, no matter how softly. Because the cost of ignoring, it can be the very years you've worked so hard to reach. Number 2, long-term damage to the lungs. The lungs age differently than the heart. They don't burst or shut down in a single moment. They wear down slowly, silently, until one day, you realize you're struggling to catch your breath after doing things that used to feel simple. And after 70, the risks that come with that, loss of lung function can be devastating. Respiratory failure, caused by decades of smoking, pollution, untreated infections, or chronic conditions, like COPD, ranks among the leading causes of death for older adults. And often it creeps in so gradually that it gets mistaken for fatigue, or just getting older. You might notice it during daily activities, walking from the kitchen to the bedroom and needing to sit down, a persistent cough that never seems to fully go away, a wheeze at night, or tightness in your chest when you lie flat. These aren't always dramatic, but they're rarely meaningless. They're often signals of lungs that are no longer exchanging oxygen the way they used to, and that slow loss of oxygen affects everything: your brain, your energy, even your heart. Take the example of Linda, 82. She never smoked a day in her life, but she spent years in a house where others did. She also lived in a city with poor air quality for decades. Over time, her lungs lost elasticity. She developed what her doctor called restrictive lung disease, a condition that made it harder and harder to breathe deeply. She thought she was just slowing down. But in truth, her body was starving for oxygen. And by the time she was diagnosed, her lungs were too scarred to recover fully. Lung damage doesn't always come from a single source. Sometimes it's the flu that turned into pneumonia and never quite healed. Sometimes it's repeated exposure to chemicals or smoke. Sometimes it's just a lifetime of inflammation catching up with you. And while you may not feel the damage happening day to day, it builds until one cold, one infection, one flare-up pushes the lungs beyond what they can handle. That's why avoiding respiratory failure isn't just about avoiding smoking. It's about recognizing patterns. It's about staying current with flu shots and pneumonia vaccines. It's about using a humidifier in dry seasons, avoiding secondhand smoke, and being consistent with inhalers or treatments. If you've already been diagnosed with a lung condition, most importantly, it's about not ignoring breathlessness, even if it seems mild. Because the lungs don't have pain receptors, they don't always shout when they're struggling. They whisper. And if you listen closely, you can hear them early, before the oxygen drops, before the ER visits, before the decline. Pay attention to your breath. It's one of the few things in life that tells the truth without ever speaking. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Number 3, the hidden toll of mismanaged diabetes. One of the most underestimated health threats after 70 isn't always visible in the mirror, obvious in how you feel day to day. It's diabetes, especially when it's been slowly wearing down the body over decades. You might feel fine. You might not even know you have it. But behind the scenes, high blood sugar levels chip away at everything: your nerves, your kidneys, your eyesight, and your ability to heal. And many times, it's not the diabetes itself that becomes fatal. It's what it does to the body's foundations over time. Unlike a heart attack or stroke, diabetes doesn't always announce its damage in a single moment. It shows up in smaller, quieter ways. Numbness in the feet, slow healing from cuts, sudden changes in vision, fatigue that doesn't go away with rest. These may seem minor at first, but they are often signs of something deeper. Signals that high blood sugar is damaging blood vessels and making it harder for your organs to function. I once met a man named George, 79, who was always active and fairly lean. He never thought of himself as someone at risk. But after a routine checkup, he learned his blood sugar had been elevated for years. He hadn't noticed, but the damage had already begun. Within 2 years, he developed kidney problems, nerve pain in his legs, and a foot wound that wouldn't heal. That wound led to an amputation, and from there, his health declined rapidly. Not because of the foot itself, but because of everything that came with it: infection, immobility, and deep emotional strain. Diabetes is like water slowly leaking behind the walls. You don't see the damage until it's already compromised the structure. And after 70, the stakes are even higher. Wounds take longer to heal. Infections are harder to fight. And complications can spiral faster than they would have decades earlier. But here's the good news: even small steps can change the trajectory. Regular A1C testing, blood sugar monitoring, moving your body every day, even just through short walks or chair exercises, being mindful of carbohydrates and hidden sugars, watching out for swelling in the legs, sudden changes in urination, or persistent fatigue. These aren't burdens. They're signals. And the sooner you respond, the more power you have to protect what still works beautifully inside of you. You don't have to be perfect to live well with diabetes. You just have to be aware. And if you've never been diagnosed, but you've noticed any of these signs, or if you've gone years without a checkup, it's never too late to ask your doctor for one simple test. Because in many cases, it's not the diagnosis that shortens life. It's the years of silence that came before it. Number 4, undetected cancers growing quietly. Cancer in older adults doesn't always begin with pain. In fact, some of the most dangerous types, like pancreatic, colon, or prostate, can grow for months, even years, without causing any noticeable symptoms. That's what makes them so deadly. By the time they're discovered, they're often far along, having quietly taken root while the rest of life went on as usual. Unlike other conditions, cancer doesn't always follow a pattern. You might feel fine. You might be eating normally, sleeping well, and going about your day without issue. But then something changes: sudden loss of appetite, unexplained weight loss, new fatigue, or discomfort that doesn't go away. And sometimes it's easy to dismiss those signs. We tell ourselves it's just aging, that it's normal to feel tired, that it's nothing, until it isn't. Take the story of Joyce, 83, who had always been healthy and independent. She started noticing some bloating after meals and a general sense of fullness that wasn't typical. Her appetite dipped slightly and her pants started feeling looser. Friends told her it was just aging, but something inside her said otherwise. She got checked, and they found ovarian cancer, advanced but still treatable. She said the hardest part wasn't the diagnosis. It was knowing how easily she might have ignored it. Many seniors skip screenings, not out of neglect, but out of fear, inconvenience, or the belief that it's too late to matter. But the truth is, early detection, even after 70, can make a world of difference. A simple colonoscopy can catch polyps before they turn dangerous. A low-dose CT scan can detect lung cancer early in former smokers. A PSA test or physical exam can catch prostate issues before they spread. And blood work can sometimes flag issues long before symptoms appear. Avoiding cancer isn't always about prevention. It's about attention. It's about noticing changes in your energy, digestion, appetite, or weight that seem unusual. It's about trusting your gut when something feels off. And it's about letting go of the belief that if you feel fine, you must be fine. After 70, health isn't just about adding years. It's about protecting the ones you have left with knowledge and vigilance. No one wants to think about cancer, but thinking about it for a few minutes now could mean many more good years later. Because when it comes to cancer, silence favors the disease, not the person. Listen to your body. And if something feels new or strange, speak up. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Number 5, severe infections from weakened immunity. As the body ages, the immune system doesn't work the way it used to. It becomes slower to respond, less efficient in recognizing threats, and more easily overwhelmed by infections that a younger body might have shrugged off. After 70, common infections can turn serious, fast. Pneumonia, urinary tract infections, skin infections, and even the common flu can spiral into sepsis or organ failure in a matter of days. Not because the infection is unusual, but because the defenses are no longer as strong. Many seniors don't realize that their risk isn't just about exposure, it's about response time. When a 30-year-old gets the flu, they may spend a few days in bed and recover. But when an 80-year-old gets the same virus, it can trigger inflammation throughout the body, disrupt breathing, and lead to hospitalization. What starts as a cough can become a crisis. What begins as a fever can end in a hospital bed with IVs and oxygen. I knew a man named Walter, 85, who was healthy, alert, and walking every day. One morning, he felt a little tired and chalked it up to poor sleep. By the afternoon, he had a mild fever. By the next morning, he was confused and unsteady. His family took him to the ER, where he was diagnosed with a urinary tract infection that had spread to his bloodstream. He was lucky he recovered, but it reminded everyone how quickly things can change. After 70, the signs of infection aren't always dramatic. Sometimes it's just confusion. Sometimes it's a slight change in behavior, increased fatigue, or difficulty waking up. And because many of these symptoms are mistaken for normal aging, treatment is delayed. That delay can be deadly. But there's something empowering in knowing these infections are often preventable, and when caught early, they're highly treatable. Staying hydrated, keeping wounds clean, washing hands regularly, and staying up to date on vaccines, these are small habits that make a big difference. Listening to your body, checking for fever, and not ignoring sudden changes in mental sharpness or energy can help catch infections before they get dangerous. The immune system may slow with age, but that doesn't mean you're helpless. It just means you have to act sooner, pay closer attention, and trust your instincts when something feels off. The quiet nature of infections in older adults is what makes them dangerous, but your awareness is what makes them beatable. Number 6, falls and fractures that trigger rapid decline. Of all the threats to your life after 70, perhaps none is as underestimated as a fall. It may not sound serious after all. People trip and stumble all the time. But for older adults, a single fall can start a downward spiral that's hard to recover from. It's not just about broken bones. It's what happens afterward. The immobility, the hospitalization, the infections, the loss of confidence, and sometimes the loss of independence altogether. Falls are the #1 cause of injury-related death for adults over 70. That statistic doesn't make the headlines, but it should. Because while many imagine death after 70 to come from disease, it's often a fall that leads to the final decline. And more often than not, that fall could have been prevented with a few small changes to the home, the body, and the daily routine. Think of a woman named Carol, 80, who tripped on a rug in her hallway. She fractured her hip. Surgery followed, then rehab. But she never quite got her balance back. She became hesitant to walk far. Then she stopped going out altogether. Her muscles weakened. Her mood dropped. Within a year, she was living in assisted care, not because of illness, but because of a single missed step. It happens more often than you think. And not always from clumsiness. Sometimes it's from medications that affect balance. Sometimes it's poor lighting in the hallway. Sometimes it's socks on hardwood floors or a bathroom without grab bars. Sometimes it's just trying to carry too much at once. But once the fall happens, the body takes longer to heal, and the mind takes even longer to recover its confidence. Preventing falls isn't about fear. It's about foresight. Strengthening your legs with light exercises. Getting regular vision checks. Clearing clutter from walkways. Adding nightlights, non-slip mats, and handrails. Wearing proper shoes even at home. And most of all, listening to that little voice that says, maybe I should sit down instead of pushing through. Falls can break more than bones. They can break routines, independence, and the will to move freely. But they don't have to. A little awareness, a little preparation, and a little humility in asking for support can preserve not just your safety, but your freedom. Because in the end, protecting your life isn't just about the big diseases. It's about the little moments that determine whether you stay upright and moving or begin a decline that's hard to come back from. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 6 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Final thoughts. As we reflect on these 6 causes, one truth becomes clear: life after 70 isn't just about avoiding death. It's about understanding where real danger lies so you can protect what matters most. Not through fear, but through awareness. Not through dramatic change, but through small, deliberate actions that strengthen your body, sharpen your mind, and give you control over what so many believe is uncontrollable. The heart doesn't have to fail quietly. The lungs don't have to collapse without warning. Diabetes doesn't have to take your independence. Cancer doesn't have to remain undetected. Infections don't have to spread before you notice. And falls don't have to define your final chapter. Every one of these causes shares something in common. They often begin without pain, without panic, without fanfare. But they're not invisible. You just have to know what to look for. And now you do. This video wasn't about doom. It was about power. The power of paying attention. The power of asking questions. The power of believing that even after 70, your health isn't on autopilot. It's something you can influence, nurture, and defend. You deserve that. Because the years behind you were hard-won, and the years ahead still hold value, beauty, and meaning. But only if you stay here for them. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to use it in your life. Your thoughts are important to us, so don't hesitate to share them. Reading your comments gives us great motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.